Welcome to Courage to Change with Karen. This is Karen, and today we are going to do podcast 27, episode 27. I am so glad you're here, and I hope that you have been enjoying this podcast. I want to thank you all for those of you that have commented and let me know if you're enjoying it or not. Also, please subscribe to this and leave a positive feedback on the ratings on whatever platform you're listening. It helps get it out to more people. So lately, I have been reading, the last few weeks, I've been reading from Let Go Now. Let Go Now by Karen Casey. And I really like it. I thought we'd continue. She talks about detachment. And I wanted to read let me see. I want to read this one. It's on page 13 if you have the book. If not, I'm going to read it to you. Okay? The title is Detachment Means Taking No Hostages. Perhaps you have never thought that your obsession with another person might be defined as a hostage taking. Historically, we think of hostages as those people who are imprisoned, particularly in a time of war. However, we can slide quite easily into making a friend or loved one a hostage of sorts by our attempts to control their every move. Our smothering focus can be likened to making them our prisoner. But since the natural inclination of every prisoner is to want to flee, the outcome of our behavior will never give us the result we're seeking. Why is that? Why is it that we're so determined to control someone else? I have given this a lot of consideration for the past few years and have concluded that our need to control others grows out of our own insecurity. We fear abandonment, perhaps, or simple rejection, at least. Both will become the reality if we insist on keeping our focus on the other rather than on ourselves. Making the decision to change our focus is an available option. That's a powerful little reading. I'm going to read it again. Okay? Perhaps you have never thought that your obsession with another person might be defined as hostage taking. Historically, we think of hostages as those people who are in prison, particularly in a time of war. However, we can slide quite easily into making a friend or loved one a hostage of sorts by our attempts to control their every move. Our smothering focus can be likened to them. Our smothering focus can be likened to making them our prisoner. But since the natural inclination of every prisoner is to want to flee, the outcome of our behavior will never give us the result we are seeking. Why is it that we're so determined to control someone else? I have given this a lot of consideration for the past few years and have concluded that our need to control others grows out of our own insecurity. We fear abandonment, perhaps, or simple rejection at least. Both will become the reality if we insist on keeping our focus on them rather than on us. Making the decision to change our focus is an available option. And then it's got a little note down here that says, while having a hostage might make us feel secure momentarily, we can always expect them to try to escape. That's the natural inclination. Is that really how we want to live? Well, that is a fantastic reading. Boy, I've said that a lot to people. I don't know if I have relationships or if I just take hostages. And it always starts out well, doesn't it? My relationships always start out very healthy. And I'm going to speak for myself here. My relationships start out pretty healthy. And I'm determined to show the other person that I'm very open-minded and I'm very independent and that I really don't care. Right? I really don't care about you. And, I like you, but I could take you or leave you. That's how it starts. I don't know what that's about. That's just about trying to attract someone, manipulate them into a relationship. And once they come and they come closer to me and I embrace that and we're in a full-blown honeymoon style relationship, it's all great until it's not. All of a sudden, as I shared in the last episode, I'm out of my hula hoop and I'm in their hula hoop and I'm living their life with them and I'm telling them how to do it and I'm trying to make it better. Whether it's cleaning their house, cleaning out their car, getting their car washed, taking care of their kids, buying Christmas gifts for their kids from them, right? I'm trying so hard. It doesn't feel like control, but it's like creating the scenario I want. It's like getting all the players lined up in a way that I want. And not only does that not work, but it does. Hostages tend to try to escape. And that's what happens. They cannot get away from me. I am with them all the time. And if I'm not with them, I'm calling them, right? I demand constant attention. And if not, I feel unloved. I've become jealous because I don't know. It's really based on insecurity. And really, if you listen to me and you watch me on here, I'm a very confident person. I'm not insecure, but that's taken a long time. It's taken a long time of prisoners escaping, hunting down hostages, and then realizing, not only are they trying to escape, but they resent me for it. And, currently I have a relationship in my life that is I call it my primary relationship. It is not with a spouse or someone that I'm in romantic relationship with. It's actually a child. And I have done a lot of work on this, and I've done pretty good. And I really have turned a corner. But when I turned a corner, I guess like this is kind of a warning. When I turned a corner and I detached and I stepped back and I started saying no, not mean no, just no, I can't do that, or no. That was so foreign to them. They immediately felt the energetic switch and they said, "What happened? What happened? Something's changed. What happened?" Nothing's changed, yeah, a lot's changed actually, but how do you explain that to someone? I've decided that I need to be happy. I've decided that after years of trying to make you happy and failing, life is too short and I don't want to do that anymore. It's not my responsibility to make you happy. And I'm telling you, it caused so much trouble. It was just horrible because they decided that meant I didn't love them anymore, because that was the only way I showed love, was just smothering them, and even though they didn't like it when I stopped, it was like I had taught them that that was love, and that's not love. It's not respectful, it's not healthy for either one of us. And I didn't know there was going to be such a backlash. I thought I was going to be able to detach and start setting boundaries and take care of myself, and they maybe wouldn't notice. But they noticed, and they took it as a sign of, you don't love me anymore. You're not breaking your back, bending over backwards. And, that was hard because I have spent my entire life trying to make sure they don't feel that way. I want them to know they're loved. I want them to know I love them no matter what. And this stage that you go through where you detach and it's difficult. I'm not going to lie to you. It's difficult if the other person realizes what's going on. Now, this involves mental health issues, but not drugs and alcohol. And I think it would be easier with someone who's drunk and loaded because perhaps they wouldn't notice as much. I think they would. They just know. They energetically know. And that's why I'm telling you, if you want to change the world around you, the only way to do that is to change yourself, and it will ripple out. Now, I'm not saying this was a bad thing. This was a good thing. This was the God, finally got some action on the other side, some movement. Everything had stayed so stuck and so stagnant for so long, with me jumping through hoops and breaking my back and trying so hard to fix this world for this person I love more than anything. And I got more shift when I just stopped, when I detached. And I detached with love, even though to them it didn't feel loving. It felt mean. But, there's nothing I can do about that. I didn't do it in a mean way. I just kind of did it. It took a long time to finally get it, but I got it. And I just energetically detached. I gave them to God, and I decided I was going to take care of myself. And that meant saying no to some requests. And that didn't go well. It didn't go well. And I guess I'm just telling you so that this is going to affect people. Like when you change, it shifts everything in your world for the better. But I'm amazed at how long I tried to shift things in my outside world and nothing changed, except I got more and more resentful. I got more and more frustrated. I was exhausted and nothing changed. And then I think what finally got me was I was just worn out. I mean, I was dabbling. You know how when someone gets sober and they kind of get sober and they go to a few meetings and maybe they do one or two steps and they can't stay sober, so they go back to meetings and they're kind of dabbling in the 12-step programs. Well, that's what I was doing with my codependency. I was very clear with every person in my life except for this one because I just didn't want to do it. I was too afraid. And I think what finally was the clincher that got me all in, like in the pool, right? Dive in and let's just do this, you know? Let's take care of me. I think it was because I was exhausted. I was just exhausted. I just couldn't do it anymore. And I don't want you to get to that point before you realize that the only way to change something is change yourself. And once I started taking care of myself, I feel so much better. Now, they don't. They think I've had a breakdown. They're calling me kind of you something's changed. You're crazy, you've lost your whatever. You've lost your mind. You don't care about me. You love me. You stop loving me, right? And it was interesting for me to see um the response, and what it did was it put more onus on them and has really created the most change. Now, I don't know why it took so long for me to figure that out. I guess it's the abandonment. A lot of you knew I was adopted when I was, at birth. And then the people that adopted me, God love them, beautiful people. But my dad ended up leaving us and left me and my brother, his real son, with her. And she was a single mom who struggled, and we did without. And we slept on the floor, lived with other people. He didn't pay any child support, didn't support us at all. And she had to do it all. And she did. She did. But, he ended up moving away. And of course, I still loved him. I was only 4 when it happened, but I remember just crying at night, missing him so much. And finally, when I was about 17, I realized this guy doesn't really want anything to do with me. You know, he's totally open to having a relationship with his son because it's his real son, but I was adopted. And I had to let that go, you know, and that was abandonment. And I had all sorts of continued abandonment in my life, especially from men. And you know, I just have this history. I mean, I had a history of my mom, one of her husbands, she got married several times, so that didn't help, right? Seeing men leave all the time. But one of her husbands was inappropriate and um with me, and I told her, and she decided to believe him and not me, and I got kicked out. You know that in high school. So I've had my, you know, I've had my my bouts with abandonment, and I've done a lot of work on it. And I can look back and see everyone does the best they can do, right? My mother loved me very much. She just had her own issues, and you know, we all have our own issues. We're all human. But in relationships, I can see how I started with this laissez-faire attitude about the relationship, and then I took hostages, and you were not going to get away, and I was going to love you whether you liked it or not. And they fled. They escaped. They dug tunnels. Get away from me. Get out of my hula hoop. And I couldn't figure out that for a long time until I started my own recovery. So I've done a lot of work on this. And I've got to tell you, the last person on the list that I really had to do this with a while back, I just didn't expect the reaction. I didn't think she was even going to notice. I didn't think anyone would notice. But most of all, I didn't do it for her reaction. I did it because I needed to take care of me. I realized I am not getting any younger. Life is short. Everything I'm doing isn't working anyway. So I'm just going to leave it be. You know, let's just see what happens. In the meantime, I'm going to take care of me. And it's been it's been hard. I'm not going to say it made everything better. It made everything better for me. I feel better. I feel more relaxed. I don't feel so much stress and pressure that I have to fix this. Um, I'm still heartbroken, you know, that she's, you know, you know what I mean. I don't have to go into that, but this detachment is no joke. And the more I realized that when it happened, the easier it was in every other relationship to detach. Someone asked me yesterday, you know, oh, well, you know, what do you think? What do you think? I said, you know, it doesn't really matter what I think. It matters what you think. And man, years ago, I would have taken that as an opportunity to get out a pen and paper and make a plan for this person. But, you know, it's none of my business. And I don't know what people should do. I like to think that I do because it makes me feel more secure. But I don't know what people should do. Half the time, I don't know what I should do, right? And that's why I really push doing those 12 steps, because what that did for me personally was it gave me a power greater than myself to lean on. And if you have followed me for any time, I've done a lot of great things. There's some great things on YouTube where I talk about higher powers, and I'm not talking about religious higher powers. I'm talking about, I believe there is a whole universal system that takes place here. You know, how trees know they're an apple tree or an orange tree. I mean, I've talked about this endlessly. Um, you know, how the tides come in and out, how the sun goes up and down, how the seasons know when to hit. You know, all that has nothing to do with me. Physics, planets, I mean, nothing. In fact, the Beatles existed before I was alive. You know what I mean? They didn't need me on the planet. And I don't know, when I was born, I thought the planet started when I was born. I thought everything started when I was born, right? And I guess I assumed it was going to end when I die. But I have seen that I've, unfortunately had people pass and life goes on, right? So I'm not really the be all and end all of this thing. So if I just take that person or that situation and I hand it to the universe, which is a power greater than me, or whatever you believe, maybe it is the God you grew up with or a religious God. But when I hand that over, um, it's going to be taken care of, and sometimes the hardest action is no action. I've really found that to be true. Now it's a relief. I really don't have to figure things out. I don't even have to figure my own life out. I just do the next right indicated thing. And I've decided to look at all of these things that happen in my life as experiences, right? They're experiences. They're not problems. They're things I can learn from and I can share with someone else. I wouldn't have had that if I didn't do the 12 steps. I found my power greater than myself during those 12 steps. And I also got to take a good look at myself. And I got to see how I reacted to life. And I was a reactor. I just reacted. I just anything that was happening, I responded, I reacted, I commented, I got involved with. I couldn't sit at a table and listen to people talk about um, something coming up without saying, "Oh, you know what I'll do? I'll make cookies." Or, I'll pick you up, or I'll do that. Or why don't we have it at my house? I got involved in stuff. I was exhausted. I instead of just showing up and being a guest, I had to show up early and help and stay late and clean. And I mean, just talk about insecure. And I didn't think so. I thought I was just a helpful person. And really, I was obnoxious. It was obnoxious. So I'm really grateful for the reading. And I'm grateful that when I walk in a room now, people don't all flee, even energetically, because they're afraid I'm going to take them hostage. I've let my hostages go, and it's been great. It really has been great. I don't know how it's been for them, but they have their own journey, and I can live differently today. I'm a free woman, and I'm so grateful for that. And so, on that note, I have really enjoyed this time with you. I really have. I mean, it's been good for me to share with you about my experience with this. It's really healing for me. Um, and I hope that you're sharing somewhere. I hope you're going to a 12-step group or a support group of some kind, and that you are getting the support you need just to say what you want to say without any feedback. That is the best thing about 12-step programs. You can say something and a bunch of people don't jump down your throat with solutions. So please check the show notes. I have several things in there for you you might be interested in. Extra support, extra help. If you're not on my newsletter, please join my newsletter so you can get a little inspiration from me every week. I try to send something that is pertinent to the season or the holiday or the situation that we're going through. Thanks for listening. See you next week.